mining and focusing on mining, but I'm much more interested in conservation and the work that DOC does in this area. The Department of Conservation has huge responsibilities. It manages and oversees the conservation of New Zealand's natural and heritage assets on land and sea, and actively encourages all New Zealanders to enjoy them. It directly manages almost 1/3 of our landmass and our marine reserves, and it facilitates agreements to protect public land. DOC is also responsible for managing protective wildlife and marine mammals. It's a huge job, but DOC seems to do it very well. It seems to have a presence in every nook and cranny across the country, and it works actively with hundreds of volunteers to do this job and to do it well. Now, we are all aware that New Zealand is a country of unique animals, birds and insects. Over 25% of the birds and 90% of our insects are endemic. But New Zealand's native wildlife faces a continual battle for survival. Land care scientists estimate that over 25 million native birds are killed every year. That's 25 million killed every year by imported predators such as stoats, rats, cats and possums. So one of DOC's most important responsibilities is pest control. So today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about 1080 poison and why it's critical to use toxins like 1080 to protect our native forests and fauna. DOC told us at their review that they feel that there's a lot of misinformation about 1080, and we know that there's much controversy about its use. But the active ingredient in 1080 is a naturally occurring substance that's found in plants, and interestingly enough, plants like tea and puha. 1080 is biodegradable, it dilutes and breaks down in water, and plants and animals excrete non-lethal quantities of 1080 naturally. DOC has monitored over 200 kiwi through 1080 operations, and no birds have ever been lost. On the other hand, without its protection, 9 out of 10 North Island brown kiwi born in the wild were killed in their first year. But after an aerial 1080 operation targeting stoats and rats in Tongariro Forest, 7 out of 10 kiwi chicks made it past their first birthday. Irma, that's the independent environmental watchdog, put 1080 under intensive expert examination 2 years ago and concluded that continued use of 1080 has significant benefits for New Zealand's environment. DOC uses 1080 according to guidelines imposed by Irma and health authorities, and there's been more than 2,000 tests of water supplies, and none of the results have identified any risk to public health. Safety standards for reticulated water have never been breached. Actually, there's been a refinement in the use of 1080 over the last decade, and the amount of toxin per hectare has been cut down by about 90%, which means that there's only a teaspoon of toxin on each hectare. DOC does about 560,000 hectares of pest control annually. Most of that is ground-based. 150,000 hectares is aerial for 1080, and that's used in the country that's really challenging when other options are not available. DOC's aerial 1080 operations cover less than 2% of public conservation land. DOC is also spending hundreds and thousands of dollars a year on alternative pest control methods. Alternatives have to be cost-effective, have comprehensive coverage, be humane, and pose little risk to human health. There are at least 30 research projects underway to find improvements to the use of 1080 or alternatives. Other methods, such as the innovative self-setting stoat and rat traps, have been recently developed by the department with private enterprise. And there's a possum trap which is due shortly. These innovations should boost the cost effectiveness of ground control because they reload 12 times automatically.